your body is listening to you. I love neuroscience because I'm like, everything that we're talking about can be proven in the brain. And when we understand how our brain works, then we can see that when we repeat a thought over and over again, there actually is a new neural pathway that gets formed based on that new belief.
Like railroad tracks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get off of a railroad track if it's taking you in one direction. But once you write the course and you make new railroad tracks, it's easy. And so for you to say that statement again and again, for the next year, 2 years, you won't even remember that you had to remind yourself of that at some point. You're like, of course, this is just who I am.
Yes.
Because there's new neural pathways in your brain that automatically take you there.
Yeah. Hey, Story Project audience. I'm so excited to dive into this episode with my friend Allison Lacoursiere, and I'd love to take a moment to share a little bit about her. Allison Lacoursiere is an internationally recognized coach, consultant, and speaker at the forefront of dentistry, leadership, and personal empowerment. With over 15 years of experience, she is the founder of Clear Coaching and Women in Digital Dentistry, organizations dedicated to revolutionizing the dental industry and advancing women in leadership. Allison is passionate about making cutting-edge training and resources accessible to dental professionals worldwide. I'm excited for you guys to check out this episode with Allison. Welcome to the Story Project podcast, Allison. I'm so excited to have you with us today.
It is such a pleasure to be here. It's been a delightful day being here with you.
Oh, good. I know our whole team has just been having a blast. You're a natural in front of the camera, to say the least. So
thank you. It's honestly just been so much fun. And to work with pros like this in so many different ways, I just see the creativity. It's so much fun. It gives me even more ideas. So been loving it.
Well, you first, before we dive into anything, you have the most unique, beautiful Canadian last name. And I, with a little French influence, right? So we were just discussing the proper way to pronounce your last name. So I think I was saying Lacoursiere, but then what's the better way to say it?
I say it Lacoursiere.
Lacoursiere.
And it's funny because my whole family says it different. Like my dad says it different than my mom. So when people are like, is this the right way? I'm like, yes, it's great.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you love Emily in Paris. That show popped into my head because I just finished the series with my daughter and it's just, fantastic. Takes place in France, not Canada, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that show because it is like adventure, women empowerment,
incredible fashion.
Yes. The fashion's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Food, fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's honestly, my mom and I watch it together.
That's awesome. Well, my daughter Leah is in French too, and she's obsessed with like wanting to go there. So it's on our list. But okay, before we dive into your story, I love to start with a few icebreaker rapid fire questions by table topics. So are you ready?
Yes.
I have not run these by her for the record, so which makes it more fun. Okay, what's the most fun road trip you've ever taken?
Ooh, I took a road trip from Gibraltar to a tiny town in Spain after I was playing in the Island Games with the Bermuda national volleyball team. And it was my whole team just in this tiny little Fiat driving through Spain to this like tiny town where we spent the weekend. It was so much fun.
Oh my gosh. Wow, all right. I didn't even have that in the podcast. I didn't know you played like professionally.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, what is the best invention of any kind? Can be anything.
Oh my gosh, coffee.
Mm.
I love coffee.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Or lashes.
Yes, lashes or sleeveless hair curlers where you can just wake up and have like lovely hair without doing anything.
Do those work?
Yes.
Okay, but then do you have to lay just like on your back? Like, right, and you can't move?
There are different ways to do it so that if you're a side sleeper, you can like tie it up one way. If you're a back sleeper, you tie it up another way, and both of them are fabulous.
Okay. Amazing. What's the most fun date you've ever been on?
Ooh, this is very easy. The date with my partner, it was our first date actually, and we did a full like start for coffee at like 10 a.m. all the way through, walking through Harvard Square, walking through the Boston Common, spending a full day in the city in like the North End, eating pizza, to having a beautiful dinner in another area of Boston. It was like a full day date, but I got to see all of Boston, and every meal we had was fantastic. Our conversation was amazing, and yeah, best date ever.
I feel like the best days always involve incredible food,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I 100% agree.
Yeah. We've done that in Chicago before and just spent a whole day just like eating, walking around, exploring, and it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, last one. What is the best investment you've ever made?
In myself, for sure, 100%. Whether it was a educational certification, designation, or a coach, being able to grow and invest in myself and have myself have a new lens in life, it changes everything.
Awesome. Before we dive into the heart of this episode, I always love starting by asking about your story. Like, how did you get into dentistry? What was your entrance into the space?
Yeah, so I desperately wanted to travel and adventure when I was young. I grew up in a very, very tiny small town in southern Alberta. And my parents were encouraging me to go into nursing or teaching or something. I'm like, I don't have time for that. I want to get out into the world. I want to travel. So I chose to be a dental assistant because there was a 10-month condensed program in Calgary, Alberta that I was like, I can get out of school really quickly, then go and travel the world, and then go back to school when I really figure out like what I want to do with my life. So at 17, I started dental assisting program, graduated, right away got picked up by an orthodontist to be an ortho certified assistant. And then my teacher from school asked if I would be interested in a job in Bermuda. So this like fit the bill and everything I wanted to do, island, warm. So I told my parents when I was 19, I'm like, I got a job in Bermuda. I'm moving there.
Because I didn't realize that's how you landed in Bermuda either. Okay.
Yep. It was like my second job as an adult.
Okay.
And I moved there with like 2 suitcases, a bunch of dresses, bikinis, and was ready to start my career. And from there, I was super, super fortunate to be in a practice that very comprehensive dentistry and very much believed in growth. And so within 2 years, I was a treatment coordinator. They sent me back to the University of Toronto when I was 24, like flying from the island to Toronto every weekend to get my dental office management designation. And I was managing the practice at 24. We doubled its production. We had a fantastic team. We like grew so much. And in that process of becoming a very young manager with everyone on my team being older than me and more experienced than me, I realized that the key to success of any organization was the people. So I got a coach as a manager, and she helped me so much that I realized I want to become a coach. And then I went back to Boston, got my ICF coaching certification, and during the pandemic, I started my company.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So fast forward, you recently, 1 year ago, I just found out, created and founded Women in Digital Dentistry. So congratulations, first off. I know it's grown incredibly and so many exciting things are happening. But tell us, what gap in the profession were you really hoping to fill with women in digital dentistry?
Yeah. When I first started as a coach, my clients were primarily women who really believed in technology, innovation. They were fantastic marketers, and that very much is who I am. Like, I love technology, I love innovation, and I'm also a woman in business. And so my client was kind of like familiar and similar to me. And as I was meeting these clients and having them span from all over Canada, all over North America, I realized they were all saying similar things, that it was very lonely to be in their dental office. They would question themselves very often, and they didn't know how to handle certain dynamics in their practice, or didn't have somebody to kind of like show them how to be that woman in business leader. And similarly, for my own journey in business, I had situations where I kind of had that imposter syndrome, the self-doubt, like certain experiences I was having felt very unique to women in business.
Yeah.
And so I just thought about, really, how do we help these women not feel alone, have a community of other people around them that were striving towards the same goals? Because all my clients were like moving in this very innovative digital practice way, but they all felt alone in it. And so as a professional coach, I went back to the University of Toronto to Rotman's Business School to understand and learn women in business management and leadership. And I got so much just incredible information from understanding the like history of trauma that women go through, from not being able to like have our own credit cards to not being able to have our own mortgages not that long ago.
Yeah.
And I just understood kind of the generational history of why so many women face the same self-doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this information needs to be shared. And once we understand this, we can overcome and feel more empowered and achieve the things that we want. And then similarly, the work-life balance that many of these women were facing of being a mom, being a practice owner, being a community leader, they felt very much failing in all of these different ways when in fact they weren't. And they just needed to see other people, moving in this way alongside of them. And so I reached out to the president of Align Canada and I just pitched an idea. I'm like, I'm seeing similar things across the industry. I want to help solve this problem. I want women to have a community. I want them to be able to talk about the issues that they're actually facing in their practices. I want them to not feel alone. And I want them to have a model and a pathway for implementing digital technology in their practice. And she was like, let's do it. So a year later, we launched, and we've been able to touch the lives and the hearts of many, many women, not just from like the practice growth perspective, but from like the human aspect of it. And it's been honestly the best project I've ever worked on.
That's incredible. It's just inspiring to hear about it too. I was curious, you have women that are members of the community that are from Canada, the US, like really all over. Have you noticed, is it mainly all of us women are dealing with so many of the same issues, or I don't know, is it, do you notice any differences based on like where people are located, like demographically, I guess?
I mean, there are certain nuances that are different, but it's very, very similar. And I think that's important for all of us to recognize that you're really not alone in the struggles that you're facing. Like it really is something that any woman in business would probably be able to relate to. And it doesn't matter if you're in East Coast Canada or in California, it really is similar but different,
Yeah. I think for high achieving women especially, it can be so easy to feel alone and siloed because we're just running at full speed. I'd love to shift the conversation a little bit and just talk about one of the most significant things that I've learned as a high achieving woman, and sometimes the hard way, and that is that so if we want to truly show up for our families, our teams, our patients, our partners, we have to do the hard internal work of healing ourselves. And I know that's something you're really passionate about. And from your experience coaching all of these women practice owners, what does the healing process look like?
Absolutely. And yes, I feel that the more healed we are, the more successful we are. And when I say successful, I mean like comprehensively, our whole lives just get to be what we want them to be. And we get to step into our truest and fullest like power as a woman. So the way that I see this, I've developed frameworks over my coaching, just things that I personally have gone through in order to heal myself in this journey. And then processes that I've brought many, many women through to help them move through this journey. And the very first one is self-worth. We have to recognize that our achievements don't make us worthy.
Yeah.
That we aren't our achievements. They're great. It's amazing to have all of this impact and success financially, relationship-wise, but that's not who we are. And I think that often high-performing women, they attach their meaning and their true worth to what they're doing, when in reality, it's who they are. It's who you're being. And you don't have to do anything to be of worth. Like you were born worthy. And so self-worth is a big one that I help women really just identify, lean into, and understand. The second thing is really balancing. This is something I talk about a lot. And when I talk about this, it's very often a light bulb goes off in women's minds. They're like, oh my gosh, like true, that's real, is balancing our masculine and feminine energy. And when I say masculine and feminine, this does not mean man and woman. It means these are kind of universal energies that everyone has. But high performing women are very, very often heavy in their masculine energy. And masculine energy, if you can imagine it, it's like a glass where the glass is the masculine energy, the water is the feminine energy. You need both. The masculine is the structure, it's the discipline, it's the drive, it's the hustle, it's the the competitiveness, which many high achieving women are very good at. And then the feminine is the ease, the flow, the intuition, the connection, the relation, it's the empathy, it's the softness, it's the being. And when we're in that high achieving mode, we're in that like push drive for too long and too hard. And often high achieving women can get burnt out. They can feel disconnected from their lives. They aren't showing up the way that they would want to in their partnerships.
I think it can lead to chronic stress.
100%. 100%. And when we can understand that we can still have the things that we want, in fact, even more and even easier when we balance both of those things, it like brings so much relief to women. So one of the mantras that I love to give to high achieving women is the more fun I have, the more successful I am, which is totally different than what we lead ourselves to believe, because my old mantra was the harder I work, the more I get.
Totally.
And the next level of success for many high achieving women isn't more, it's different. Like you can't achieve the next level without shifting the way you're doing things. It really is just different. It's easier. It's like allowing, it's asking for help, it's delegating, it's not being perfect. It's just, allowing your life to get easier and better. And it's so possible. And I something I'm so excited to share with more women in the world.
Oh, great. So it's not that we have to get rid of the masculine energy altogether, because that obviously serves us when we need it. And that's why we can run a boardroom or, lead teams and go conquer or go close deals. So, but from what I hear you're saying, it's balancing that with, and also tapping into that feminine energy.
100%. And back to the healing aspect, often women are in that heavy masculine because they were tripped by trauma. Something happened in their life that caused them to feel unsafe, unworthy, that unless they were perfect, they weren't valued. Something happened that pushed them into that masculine where it's like, I have to be so structured and I have to push so hard in order to be safe, in order to be successful. And the analogy that I love to share is that it's almost like if you were to walk out of your house and a bear was chasing you, you wouldn't run to the direction of your dreams or of what you're excited about. You would run to the next safe place. So being in that trauma response or in that super masculine energy doesn't necessarily make for aligned success. It often makes for just getting to that next door to get safe, recognizing it's not the one that you want to be in, because of course it isn't. You just ran there because a bear is chasing you. So what we have to do is release that bear so we can leave our homes or step into the world and not feel like we're afraid, not feel like we have to do the next thing, not feel like this intense pressure, so that we can choose the things that we are passionate about, we are excited about, we are aligned with, that match and honor our values. We make better decisions from that place, and those better decisions create sustainable, long-standing success.
So really it's those experiences, the trauma, whatever the hard thing was, that leads to us walking around with a lot of protective walls that really taps into deep masculine protective energy. That like we're running from a bear. And you and I talked about this when we were in the car yesterday. Doing the deep internal healing work, it's hard. It's not for the faint of heart. You and I have both been down that road, and we've done a ton of it. And I was just sharing an experience I had earlier this year. I mean, I don't like crying in front of people. You know what I mean? Especially if you go off, and you're in a group, and it's like, I went to like a retreat thing. And so, but it's so worth it. Because then you're able to like literally move on in the next chapter of your life as a more whole person. And showing up how you're truly designed to.
Truly. It is such a peaceful and incredible place to be. And we're never done. Like, we're never done the healing. But what I would say is the thing that you're resisting, start getting curious about.
Yeah.
If you're resisting being vulnerable, if you're resisting crying, if you're resisting opening up, if you're resisting being like close to people, whatever it is that's your resistance, get curious about it, because there's probably a very beautiful breakthrough on the other side of it. And it needs to, doing that work will pay off in so many ways. And the good news is you don't have to do it by yourself. You're not just out there trying to figure this out on your own. There are so many people that can guide you through the process, that can support you through the process. So it's probably some of the most important work you'll ever do in your life.
Incredible. A practice that I've started to do is to remind myself of who I am daily. And I have 3 words. And I also have a contract kind of statement. And it's in my office, it's on my wall, I journal it. And I'm a worthy, powerful, free woman.
Yes.
And it just, I think finding those words that resonate with you and like bring that life and just energy, to your soul is really, really a powerful tool.
Gosh, it is so powerful. I always say this to my clients, that your body is listening to you. Like what you say very much matters. And we have hundreds of thousands of thoughts every day. Most of them are automatic and most of them are negative.
Yeah.
And we are disciplined about everything in our life. We're disciplined about our exercise, our finances, our structure, our schedule, but then we're not disciplined about what we're saying to ourselves, which arguably is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so you have to change that narrative and stop those automatic negative thoughts from coming in, because truly you either shrink or expand based on what you're saying to yourself. And most women specifically they say the meanest things to themselves that are absolutely not true.
And your thoughts become your beliefs.
Yes.
About yourself.
100%.
That's really serious when you think about that.
100%.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I say to my clients sometimes, they're like, I'm not ready. I'm like, who said that? And they're like, nobody. Well, then why do you believe that?
Yeah.
Because a belief is just a thought that you think again and again. So for your affirmative statement, if you say that again and again, you will start to believe it. And I love neuroscience, because I'm like, everything that we're talking about can be proven in the brain. And when we understand how our brain works, then we can see that when we repeat a thought over and over again, there actually is a new neural pathway that gets formed based on that new belief.
Like railroad tracks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get off of a railroad track if it's taking you in one direction. But once you write the course and you make new railroad tracks, it's easy. And so for you to say that statement again and again, for the next year, 2 years, you won't even remember that you had to remind yourself of that at some point. You'll be like, of course, this is just who I am.
Yes.
Because there's new neural pathways in your brain that automatically take you there.
Yeah. And it's a new belief. Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. We could talk about this all day.
I know.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, now that, we've covered the importance of doing some deep internal work and really healing ourselves, let's talk about how this serves as the foundation for progress and growth professionally. And in your work, you emphasize the link, obviously, as we've been discussing, between self-worth, healing, and growing a successful business or practice. And how have you seen this connection impact leaders practically, both, with all of the women practice owners that you've worked with, like the connection between the ones that have done the deep internal healing work, and then what is the outcome for the practice?
Oh my gosh, it's massive. First is they stop burning themselves out. They have sustainable energy, sustainable joy, sustainable passion and purpose. It's not this like push anymore. It is sustainable growth, really, that feels a lot easier. So I see production numbers go up. I see work hours being reduced. I see moms deciding and choosing to pick up their kids from school, taking longer vacations while their practice is still growing. So more abundance, less time, and less push. The other thing I see that is huge is the relationship that they have with their team. So they feel a better ability to communicate. They have a lot more empathy and boundaries at the very same time. They know how to hold their team accountable, but in a way that is uplifting and empowering for the team, not diminishing or in any
overbearing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because something I hear a lot with women is like, I don't know how to manage my team without feeling like I'm overbearing or being mean, but then I feel too soft sometimes.
Yeah.
So they get that balance within their team and they keep their teams longer. And then the other thing that's really cool is very often after I'm working with women in business and women in practice, they find something else that they're extremely passionate about that they've never given themselves permission to lean into or to spend time on. And so they open up this other creative element of themselves that they weren't allowing themselves to do for a long time. So
what are some of those things?
some of them are art. So they start painting, they start writing. Some of them become speakers. So they start sharing like their own healing journey.
Finding their voice.
Yes, finding their own voice. Some of them like literally went into like skydiving, moved to a new country. Like it's pretty amazing what happens when we give ourselves permission to be exactly who we are.
And that's like kind of tapping into that fun factor that you have challenged yourself with as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something that I love, my coach actually shared this with me, which I think is just so important, is that we all have this vision of where we want to go, but a unhappy journey won't bring you to a happy resting point or a happy final ending.
Regardless of the money.
Exactly.
That's the fact.
100%.
Yeah.
So a happy journey will take you to the happy ending. And so if you're not happy where you are right now, regardless of where you are, you can bring more joy and more peace and more ease to wherever you are so that you can get to the place you actually want to go.
And enjoy it along the way.
Yes.
Yeah. I was telling Allison in the car yesterday that I am going to take dance lessons and you can hold me to it, either salsa or like line dancing. I'm inviting Justine and Drew. You guys can come with me. But because I need more fun in my life.
Yes.
I need to like block it and schedule it in my calendar.
Yes.
And just go, tap into kind of that childlike play, that we used to when we were kids. And you just grow up so fast. All of us do.
I know.
It's so silly, really.
It really is. And this is something that really struck me. I read a book called The Top Regrets of the Dying when I was very young.
Yeah.
And it's essentially this nurse who's interviewing people on their deathbed, asking them like, what was your biggest regret? And one of the top ones was that I wish I would have enjoyed my life more. I wish I would have done the things that seemed kind of like meaningless in the moment, but actually brought me more joy, because now looking back, like I didn't enjoy that experience. I wish I would have done the things that I desired. And it really just struck me, and I commit myself to doing that, because we truly have no idea how long our journey gets to be. But if we're not prioritizing joy, then what is the point of it all?
Enjoy, that word. There's something just beautiful about it. I don't know. To me, it's more meaningful and than saying like using happy. I don't know. Sometimes I think happy just sounds a little bit too light or fleeting.
Yeah.
But joy just sounds very like at your core.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's beautiful. Well, let's dive into talking about the intersection of AI, neuroscience, and intuition. I'm not going to call you a nerd, but I know that you nerd out on all these things.
I really do.
I love that about you. And I think your brother is a neuroscientist.
Yes.
Okay. That's incredible. So can you tell us about a defining moment in your journey where integrating neuroscience, AI, intuition, and leadership fundamentally shifted your perspective or approach to business and what you do?
Yes. So when I very first started my company, I did what I think many of us do, is like choose the practical route, like do the thing that is logically makes sense. And even though like internally looking back, I knew it wasn't what I was 100% passionate about, I thought, okay, this is like the practical route. This is the smart decision. And I think sometimes, again, we're in our masculine so much, we want to choose the smart decision. But over time, that like nudge, that internal knowing, which I like to share with women, men have this too, like it's not just for women, but that internal knowing of this doesn't feel right for me, or there's something different that is meant for me. We have to learn to trust that. Like that is the most intelligent aspect of us as human beings, is that internal knowing.
Yes.
So my internal knowing was telling me, Allison, you are not going down the right path. Like this is not the business you want to build. You need to shift this into what you're deeply passionate about. And so at the time I was kind of like thinking about, it's too fluffy, too be a coach. It's to, some of these things seem like very spiritual, but is that something that would, make sense to most people in the world? And so I took all of my coaching practices and I sat down with my brother and we built a program called the Neuroscience of Leadership, where I took every single concept like abundance, manifestation, intuition, consciousness, all of these concepts in the coaching world have been deemed in business sometimes as fluffy or the nice to have.
Sure. Yeah.
And we routed them through what happens in our brain in like the neuroscience perspective. And so what I did for myself and for others was really like prove how incredibly important these concepts are for us to follow in our lives and business. So even just building that project and learning about it, I switched the direction of my company to do something that I really deeply love, which is to help women grow, thrive, heal in the industry. And I did it in a way that allows them to do it easier through technology. So that's kind of where the AI component comes in, where I really feel like everyone wants to grow really quickly. So the pathway is trust your intuition, trust your inner knowing, know how to leverage and utilize your brain, and then leverage technology in order to make things faster and easier.
That's
So
awesome.
for me personally, it changed the direction of my company. For my clients, it helps them align themselves and know the science to change and then leverage technology in order to get there faster.
So is that kind of one of the foundational pieces that you take all of the members of Women in Digital Dentistry through? Okay.
Yeah, we start with like self-discovery,
Okay.
self-leadership. Then we go into marketing. How do you show up to the world as yourself? And then we go into team systemization and technology. And then we go into financial mastery.
That's incredible. And I think AI can be pretty overwhelming, especially it's so rapidly growing at a just crazy pace. So yeah, I love that you are teaching systems behind that.
It's super important. Like when I think of AI, it's a very masculine thing that's happening in business. It's changing our world so fast.
Even though my ChatGPT, she's a female voice.
I love that. I love that. I always tell people,
I'm like, let's change that.
Name your chat. But with AI, the people that are building the algorithms, they're primarily men. And so I am teaching women in business how to have a feminine approach to what AI can do and to get excited about learning what it can do for your life rather than resisting it. And when I help women like grow, my goal is like, how do we do this faster and easier? And technology is a non-negotiable, but we can't resist that technology. We need to lean into it and then take our own approach to it and recognize that AI is just an expansion of our own data, the data that we give it, which is us, and it expands from there. And so it can be really, really fun and just so beautiful and exciting.
Yeah.
But we have to see it through that lens.
And AI still needs humans.
100%.
It's AI plus humans, and maybe human is still the majority.
Yes.
I mean, it's our data, it's our creativity and everything dumping into those platforms.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So humans aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
No. The only thing scarier than AI for people, like they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid of this. I'm like, the only thing scarier than just AI in general is you not understanding it or knowing how to use it. So like deeply lean in, get excited about it. Think about how it can help you accomplish your goals. Make it a partner in your business because it's like trying to resist the internet from coming. Like, I'm not going to use the internet. Look at what we're up to today, So in 5 years from now, in 1 year from now, it's going to change so much. So lean in, get curious, and leverage it for your growth.
Yeah, I love that. Or we'll get left behind.
100%.
Yeah. So many practice owners rely heavily on logic and data-driven decisions, and especially as clinicians. So you emphasized, as we were talking about the role of intuition, how can female leaders learn to trust their intuition more now that we've identified how important it is in business while still leveraging AI, technology, all of that? Because I think it's a marriage of both, right?
100%. So again, going back to the like masculine and feminine balance, the systems in your practice are masculine. Looking at your P&L, seeing your numbers, seeing your data, measuring your, case closure, all that is so important. But how are you showing up in those systems? How are you viewing your P&L? That's the feminine approach. And when I ask rooms of, upwards of 500 people, I ask them, I'm like, who in this room has had a intuitive nudge or knew something intuitively that they like knew to be true? Everyone raises their hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, when has it ever been wrong? Has anyone ever had it be wrong? And people are like, no. And most of the time they look back and say, I wish I would have followed this sooner. So I think it's just recognizing being intuitive doesn't mean that we don't have systems. Being intuitive doesn't mean that we don't look at data. Being intuitive doesn't mean we're not paying attention and tracking things, because that masculine structure gives us the freedom to lean more into that feminine perspective. If we are exhausted because we don't have systems, our team has no idea what they're doing, we don't have the time to be intuitive. We're in fight or flight. Exactly. Yeah. So if you think about like the frameworks give you the spaciousness to tap into this higher level intelligence that everyone has, and gives you time to think and to feel and to notice that deeper kind of resonance with you, that's the point of it. Because you can know that there's somebody on your team that just doesn't fit without data. You just feel it. You
Completely.
Can sense it.
Absolutely.
You know. But if we're like, well, I don't have the data to follow this knowing, then we waste time. Yeah. We hurt our teams. We don't grow as fast. And so it's just recognizing that like these soft skills that we used to look at in business, like, that's just fluff. They're actually, I would say, non-negotiable skills. Yeah. And there's work to be done in order to tap deeper into your inner intelligence.
Some of us, I can speak for myself, I imagine you have so many women from all ages have walked through experiences that have either harmed or made them doubt their intuition, like, left their intuition and that gut instinct shaken. Mm-hmm. So what are, I'm just curious if how can we move towards repairing that? Mm-hmm. Because I think it's one of the most significant guiding like resources and tools that's innate within us. And if it's damaged or it's been hurt, sometimes we'll find ourselves in places where we need to like repair that and restore it. Like our belief in that ping, that knowing.
Absolutely. And I have had to do that for myself. And I've had that question, when I've allowed myself to be in situations that have really deeply hurt me, it took me a long time to ask really like, can I trust myself? Because like, why would I allow this to happen?
Totally.
But the first thing we have to remember is that not all of these things are our fault. Mm-hmm. We may have allowed things to progress or to get worse or to harm us in some way because we didn't outwardly protect ourselves. But that also is a learned behavior that women have, where we make other people feel comfortable without standing up for ourselves. We feel like we aren't at choice in certain aspects, or, maybe I shouldn't have went down that road, or maybe I shouldn't have done this. So the first step is don't make yourself wrong for the way that someone else mistreated you. You may have not put up strong enough boundaries, or you may not have, done the thing that could have protected yourself more, but that's not something that is against your inner knowing and intuition, because my guarantee is that you knew and felt that something wasn't right in that moment, but you may just not have had the courage or the knowledge or the skill to do something about it. Yeah. And that is, again, like, it's an inner forgiveness. And then it's also a recognition that it wasn't your fault. Like, you didn't create that for yourself. You didn't intuitively bring something to yourself. And so I think it's about separating that and recognizing, like, don't make yourself wrong for something that's happened in the past. Yeah. But just start to listen to yourself a little bit more. And what do you notice? And take those little steps when you're like, that doesn't feel right. Okay, take a step back. Or this does feel right. How do you step forward? Yes. And you start to grow that. One of the problems that I see is that as high-performing women, we are super good at numbing ourselves, whether that be through work, through like overdrive, through alcohol, through, all of the things that we can numb ourselves. And that numbing causes us to lose connection to ourselves. And so sometimes women are like, well, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, we need to create some space for you to remember.
Yeah.
because it's not about a new skill. It's really about slowing down and connecting to yourself enough to remember who you are and what you know about yourself, and then learning how to trust that again.
Yeah. So step away from the shame and the
Mhm.
blaming for
Yes,
whatever the situation or experience was.
100%.
And then be still enough
Mhm.
when you do notice your intuition, those red flags kind of going off, and let yourself rebuild it along the way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And give yourself a pat on the back
Yes.
when it proves to be right and you were like, wow, the
Yes.
only way I thought that was because of that inner gut instinct
Yeah.
and feeling or moment,
Mhm. And it comes down to really connecting back to how you feel. And as an athlete, women have really high pain tolerance, and we have an enormous capacity to take on and just burden ourselves. But when you start to prioritize feeling good, you realize when you're off track way faster.
Yeah.
So for me, when I was like in my push, 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 hustle, hustle phase, it was harder for me to connect to my intuition because my pain tolerance was so high. I couldn't notice that something was off because I was just too busy. I was like, no, I got to keep going, keep going, keep going. But like looking back now with my level of consciousness and awareness, I'm like, oh yeah, you could totally see this.
Yes. That's such a great story, analogy, because I've had the same experience and I'm trying to back off my pain tolerance. When I had both my kids and like was in labor, I wasn't the one screaming. I was just like completely quiet and I internalized all of it.
Yes.
And so I think for me, that was back then even a telling sign that I wasn't using my voice enough. I wasn't really probably as in touch with how I was feeling, way less than I am now.
100%.
Yeah.
Something that I share with women like who would resonate with that is to start being more, I'm going to just put in air quotes, difficult, because that's kind of what we think. Like if you're cold, ask for a sweater. If you're cold, ask for the heat to be turned up. If you want the salt, but it's over at the end of the table and you don't want to bother somebody, ask for it. Like it's these little moments where we ask for what we need or ask for help. And the crazy thing is, I've gotten much better at this. The people in your life are waiting to help you. They're waiting to give you support. They're waiting to be like, of course, like, let me. And it makes the other people in your life feel more important and needed because you're pulling them into your world. So I think as women, we want to make sure that everyone else in our external world is good. Like I don't want to cause any problems. I don't want to be difficult. I don't want to make it harder for someone. But what we do is we actually disconnect from them when we do that. And we don't pull them into the things that we need or desire. And that just relieves us so much. So now if like I'm in my Uber, the music's too loud, I'm like, can you please turn that down? If I'm cold, I ask for the heat to be turned up. It's these little things that like I never used to do because I was just wanting to make sure someone else was uncomfortable. I also have just gotten a lot better at boundaries. When people in the business world are like, hey girl, like somebody that I don't know that's maybe like a professional man, I'm like, I'm a professional woman. Like, let's keep it professional.
I'm not your girl.
Yes.
I'm not your baby.
Exactly. Or like hands. I know many women have had hands just in places that are not okay. I'm like, actually, please don't. I would prefer if you didn't touch me.
So good.
Let's take a step back here. I've just immediately gotten much better at these things where early in my career, I would just stand there dying inside, feeling so uncomfortable and not knowing what to, and not knowing what to say. And then you think it's your fault.
Yes. Ooh, so good. Oh my God.
So become more difficult just in these tiny little ways.
Yes.
And like the reality is it's not difficult. It's just honoring yourself. That self-worth is like knowing what you need, listening to yourself and saying, hey, please don't do that, or please more, or let's do this instead.
Right.
And that really is just one of the greatest acts of self-love that we can give.
Knowing your worth, being in touch with how you're feeling in moments that feel good or not good, or when you need help. My daughter recently said, Mom, you really never ask for help. And I was like, oh. And she said, well, you give us like, you give me like family jobs or like a chore or something, but when do you ask me like, hey, can you help me with this? So I've started to become more conscious of it. I'm like, oh, hey, could you fix my strap? Or hey, could you fix this on my purse? Or like, help me with this bracelet. Just like simple things that I get so like, oh no, I can do everything by myself and I don't want to be a burden or whatever. And I love your point that we're actually not inviting the people that really love us into our world, into
Mm-hmm.
our stuff, and, kind of robbing them of the
We are.
opportunity.
We
Yeah.
are. And I ask women, I'm like, if I asked you to help me with something, how would it make you feel? And like the women in my life are like, oh, I would love to. Like I want to. That would make me feel important and special and connected to you and invited. I'm like, then why aren't you asking people in your life for help?
Yeah.
So it's just remembering how we feel helping others, giving people opportunities to help us back.
Gosh, Allison, this has been the most beautiful conversation. Thank you for just being here today. But I also heard some recent exciting news that you have a book coming
Yes.
out. And I'd love for you to share, like, what is it about? What's happening? When is this gonna, go live? All of that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It has been on my heart to write a book since I was 20. I was a good writer when I was in high school, college. And I said to myself, like ages and ages ago, I'm going to write a book. And so this I've claimed is my year. It's 5 years for me in business. And I am going to bring this book to life. And it really is about helping women heal. So it's the gateway to essentially our own quantum leap, our own self actualization is that first step of how do we first heal ourselves, step into our greatest self, and then be able to have the life and the dreams and the things that we want. So it's probably going to be coming out before the end of this year. I'm
Okay.
working on it right now and truly having so much fun writing it, which
Awesome.
a few years ago, I wasn't ready, but
Mhm.
now I really wanted to help so many women heal. And then truly, I believe, and I know you believe so strongly in this too, when we help women heal, we help the world heal
Totally.
because women are so powerful. They give so much to their communities, to their children, to their families, and it creates this beautiful ripple effect in our whole world. So I'm very, very excited for it.
I'm very excited too. That's going to be a gift to all women and our entire profession, like easily. What's next for women in digital dentistry? Anything exciting happening this year?
Oh my gosh, so many things. We were in Canada last year. That's how we launched. We stuck in Canada and we just launched into all of North America.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we are North American, worldwide based, but obviously we have more North American doctors in the program. We have a very big live event coming up in October 17th and 18th. We're going to be having a two-day symposium at the Align headquarters in Toronto. And it's going to be very feminine, fun. Doctors can bring their teams. We're going to be learning so many really, really valuable masculine structures for the practice with a super fun, beautiful feminine energy with all of it. So I'm really, really excited for that. We just onboarded our new board members, our new ambassadors, and we're bringing on our allies as well, because I think the women empowerment discussion and movement can't let men out of the picture. We need to bring in men to this discussion because they want to support and they want to help and they want to learn. And so we're going to bring on our ally group, and really just our goal is to have 200 women in the program by the end of the year. So
That's very exciting. And to your point, there are a lot of amazing good guys out there that champion women every day. So yes, we need them. Amazing. Any final words of encouragement for all of the women listening to this podcast?
So many. I would say just get curious about your healing and know that it really is the gateway into all of the things that you desire in your life. And I use the word desire specifically because it's not need, it's not want, it's like your deepest desires for your life. And getting curious about your healing and knowing that you're not alone in anything that you're facing right now is going to be the start of something just so beautiful.
How can our audience find you online? You're very active on social. And where can people connect with you?
Oh my gosh. Well, because I have a rebrand, I'm so excited about AllisonLacoursiere.com.
Okay.
You can find me at Allison Lacoursiere on social media, and you can email me at Allison@AllisonLacoursiere.com.
Amazing. You guys, she's more than worth a follow. I would recommend you connect with Allison, reach out to her, especially if you are a woman in dentistry looking for a community where you can thrive and heal and and just kick ass at your practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe that was a little masculine.
No, I love it.
Okay.
We got to balance it. We got to balance it.
We can say ass in this podcast, right? It's okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty mild word.
I love it.
Thank you so much for being my guest today. You're awesome.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for believing in women in our industry, empowering them, bringing the best out of them, and for having me here today. It's been such an honor.
Oh, well, okay. This was one of my favorite episodes. I feel like we just organically could sit around and just talk, whether they're in the car, podcasting. So maybe there will be a part 2 one day.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, Allison. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Story Project podcast. Let's be fearless together, ladies. Love you guys.